Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Lava Lava. I am your host, Johnny, and by joining me, I'd like to introduce to you a new member. He's been with us the whole time. He just hasn't had the time to come in on our episodes, and you've seen him in 2 episodes ago. But Saya, can I get you to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sosaya Papali, 33 years old. I was born in Hawaii. My family's village in Kukuila is Kafunga, Kokoland. I have 3 kids. I have a girlfriend. I was in the Marine Corps also. 2010 when I got out. I was a grunt, 0311. And now I work as a diesel mechanic in Seattle.
Nice. Welcome, Saya. And then we got the usual suspects too as well. We got Perez, Milford, JP, Fatu, Manu. And I'd like to carry on with relationships as part 3, and we're going to move on to our familial relationships with our parents and our siblings. We're going to go, I know we touched on it a couple episodes ago, but we're going to go in a little bit more in depth. So we're talking about what constitutes a successful relationship as a son, a daughter, as a brother or sister, just all in general with your own personal family unit. I know not all of us have the same situation. I know some of us don't have both parents. What is your ideal relationship? And this is to kick out this open question to everyone. So feel free to chime in. The question is, what do you think is ideal to have a successful relationship within your own family unit?
I have a weird relationship with my siblings and my parents. Yes, we communicate, but we've never had any deep discussions. But as an adult, as I grow older, I've been able to establish more deeper connections with my siblings and my parents, especially with my parents, my mom and dad. My dad is Chinese and he speaks a little bit Samoan, but he's not fluent. So there is a language barrier between me and my dad. There's also a language barrier between me and my mom, mostly because, yes, I speak Samoan, but I don't know the words to convey what I'm feeling towards my mom, how to speak to her. Like when we're speaking in English, the English language has more words than the Samoan language. So language barrier has been a problem with me and my parents. And now that I've grown up, I'm still trying to improve on that. For my siblings, now that we're adults, we do talk more. I do remember me and especially my brothers, our language was always fighting over things because there's 5 of us, and I didn't really have a relationship with my sisters because I was out of the house before they enter high school. So there's a huge gap in our relationships, because you can talk, you speak and talk better with your siblings who are closer to your age than your siblings who are like 5 or 10 years, that age gap. Yeah, my family dynamics with my siblings and parents is totally different. I don't know if it's normal, but we don't get into arguments now that we're older. We don't really fight. We avoid a lot of trouble. Yeah, it's mostly we avoid conflicts and we just help each other out.
Okay. I like that. Yeah, I'm similar to you where my younger siblings, and me and my older brother we're much older, and then my 2 younger siblings, there's almost like a 10-year gap. So it's like, we're in the States by the time they were starting high school, and so our relationship wasn't. I'm closer to my oldest brother than I am with the younger siblings, but at the same time, we maintain a connection, and then we all vibe and we get along. That was one of those things where we utilize that. Our closeness, and as adults, we laugh about things we used to do when we were little, or as me being the older sibling and stuff like that. But I'm still the older sibling here, so in times of need, they still call me, and if they need something or advice or something like that. So I still play the older sibling role here and there. Are there other things I know? Is there something that you could have done to increase that or to deepen that relationship with your siblings, Prez?
I think I would have. Try to forge our communication a little better, because growing up we did our own thing. Like me and my brothers, we didn't really hang out too much with each other. We were always with friends or doing our own thing. I think I would be open to having more discussions, because we have the regular sibling talk, but I've never had deep discussions with my brothers or sisters about life in general. But I think if I could go back, I would change that dynamic and be more like what the bond that we have right now as friends. I would be more trusting friend to my brothers and my sisters.
And usually for something like that, from my experience, I've always noticed that sometimes it just takes you to open the door. Sometimes they're on the fence, they're on the line, but they're afraid to make the first move. So sometimes you should make the first move. It may not be the case, but usually it is. What about being a son to your parents? What constitutes a successful relationship with your parents? I'd like to ask Milford about this one, because I know he's, as a military brat, you've been moving around, and oftentimes, you get caught up with it. Us being in the military, we all understand what entails. Sometimes it's mission first, family second. So how would you create a successful relationship with your parents?
First and foremost, I think, we talked about communication before, demonstrating patience, of course, and try to understand, the different worlds that we both come from. Because growing up, my dad, career Army man, 28 years in, he retired as a Chief Warrant Officer 3. He could have went in as an officer. He went in at the age of 28, but he already had a degree, but his recruiter, he didn't really know anything. He just wanted to take care of his family. And the recruiter didn't let him know about the officer route. He didn't convert until later. But because of, his duties, was stationed in Schofield Barracks for a while. So a lot of infantry out there. He was with the infantry unit. And he was gone. A lot of my childhood, he was gone. Even growing up, if it wasn't deployed to, Haiti, Afghanistan, Iraq, anywhere in the Middle East, anywhere in the world, you pick it. If he wasn't gone for this amount of time, he was gone for weeks at a time in the field. So old at the time, he was one of the first people installing phones in the Humvees. That's how far back it goes. But him with the fatigue and stresses of work, as a Psalm 1 man, he doesn't complain. He just puts his head down, because he could have made Sergeant Major within pretty fast. He made E7 in like 12 years just because he was grinding. He was duty driven, but by the time he came home, he wanted to, this is how I saw it. He wanted to do, like as we all have our personal interests, do what they do, and then, the kids follow suit. So there wasn't really a big time relationship growing up, even in high school. There was a big disconnect there. Even into adulthood, we're starting to connect more, but just being conditioned like that, growing up, not having that relationship, I never really sought it out because I didn't know what I was looking for. While he's trying to connect, there's the disconnect on my end, because I'm just like, we're gonna do this now. We're gonna be close, this and that. Because I have my loyalty to my parents, but as far as like an emotional connection, that relationship you'd expect to see with the father and son, like you usually see, outside movies or just other people. We don't really have that. It's getting better. I'm trying to on my end to try to connect more, but just because as most of my life, wasn't really there. And a lot of the times growing up, even though I didn't do as they said all the time, I was disobedient. Is do as I say, and you just be there, I'll be here type of deal.
Okay. I'd like to switch up and throw it to Fatu then, from his perspective, because your dad was a Faife'al. I know we like mentioning that a lot. How was it on your side? What do you think would have made a successful relationship with you and your father, or even your parents in general, as Faife'al and Fatua? What would you say constitutes or dictates a successful relationship with your parents?
I didn't really have any problems growing up. Most of our relationship was an open communication, especially when I went to high school. Like my parents stopped being hard on me and we started having opening conversations. Like I have a good relationship with both my parents, because by the time around fifth grade, I already knew what ticks them off and, what puts them in a good mood. So I always moved around. If they're about to get mad, I'll do this to make them happy. If they're happy, I'll keep them happy. We didn't really have any problems growing up. I had a great childhood growing up. A lot of people think that my dad was a Faife'al from the beginning. My dad only became a Faife'al when we were, I think, sixth grade. So, my dad was on Faife'al until then, and then I left. I went to Hawaii for high school, but our relationship was really good because my dad would ask me if I need anything. Like if it was something unimportant, I wouldn't let him know because I can handle it. Back then, before I graduated, one of the things I kept in mind was to keep my parents happy. So we never had a problem. So growing up, because I've always been the good kid that everyone knows.
Hey, see,
Okay.
So just maintaining that expectation, correct?
Yeah. Be smart. It
Okay.
doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to be smart.
All right. Well, what about Saya? So I know you tell you're an only child. What about that in that aspect? Because I know for some of us, a lot of us have siblings. We had to share the love, spread the love. But as an only child, what would you say dictated or created that successful relationship between you and your parents as well?
Me growing up as the only child, we were a tight unit. Just me, my mom, and my dad. That's it. But with that being tight and all, as I was growing up, I wasn't as closer to my dad as I was with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And just middle school, high school, I do something wrong, I get my ass beat, and I wouldn't talk emotional level. I wouldn't talk with my dad about things. It's always my mom. I'd run to my mom and for everything else, but not my dad. But now as an adult, we're still not there, but we're working on it. Like it's getting better with us talking and just doing stuff together. Yeah, it's not like it was bad. It wasn't bad. It's just we weren't too close. We butt heads sometimes. But yeah.
So that in itself could have been a dynamic as well, or for part of successful, just to maintain that balance where mom was the comfort and dad was the stability, the structure. When you need that rigid strength, you look to dad, and when you need just a shoulder to cry on or somebody to hear you out, you always had mom. That was always just. Now we're gonna move on to JP. Being raised by your mom, a single parent, what would you think would have dictated a successful relationship between you and your parent, or you and your mom?
It was pretty hard. 4 boys. My mom wasn't all there. I don't like using the word mentally ill, but that's what I heard. Grew up. That's what people refer to my mom as, and say like the doctors and stuff. She had a brain of a 7-year-old. So like she was still a little kid, but I'm super impressed by what my mom has done. So all 4 of us, we all grew up in Cocoland. My oldest brothers were twins, and we didn't really, all my brothers, we really didn't have a relationship growing up because they got sent away. So they got sent down here to Cali, and like the Johnson side of the family is bad. So like gangs and stuff like that. So they got sent to Cali, they got jumped in the gang, and then they just got moved all over the place, And my mom, raising 4 boys, she didn't really know how to raise kids. So like she never sasa me, but she sasa'd like my other 3 brothers a lot because she didn't know. Because when a kid cries, it could be a diaper change, or maybe they need a bottle, But like my mom didn't understand that. It was my mom was a kid, like mentally, and she was a kid trying to raise kids. So I had my mom, 4 of us, and then my grandma. So my grandma was the one really raising us, but my mom was the income. She helped pay the bills. Like she worked at StarKist, and her shift she would leave at like 2. So when I got home, like she was walking to wait for the bus, and then she would get home at like 5 in the morning. So when I get up to go to school, she was asleep. So the only time I really met my mom was when we would pass each other as I was coming home from school and she was walking up to the bus stop. But like my mom had a big heart, she made it happen. And that's what I strive to do for my kids. And sometimes like days get rough, I get super tired. But then I always remember my mom because she never called in sick. This was a kid inside of a grown woman body, raising 4 boys all on herself, just like constantly going to work, those late night shifts. And it was rough, man. And the pay down in Samoa at that time was like what?
Pennies.
$2.50.
Pennies on a dollar.
Yeah, it was like $2.50 or $3.50 an hour, but she made it happen. So when my brothers got sent away, and so like throughout my whole life, I just heard stories and stuff, I haven't. And then Apelu, the middle brother, got sent to Polu to raise my grandma's sisters. So he really didn't have a relationship with my mom. So like the first time I met my real brothers was my mom's funeral back in 2013, and it was just me and my mom. And then my mom's brother, he had a daughter, and then that's my sister Hope. But then my mom raised her too, so it was me and her and my mom. That's all I knew growing up. So it was pretty hard. Like when I went home for my mom's funeral, and then seeing like my real brothers, like everybody there, because I felt they dipped out on us. You know, I felt like they left us. They weren't really there. You know, but then as I grew older and stuff like that, I learned to forgive and like to understand like they had it pretty rough too. Like they had no decision in what they were doing. It was my uncles and aunties that sent them away. It was my family that sent them away, sent them here. They got jumped in the gangs. Half of their lives they've been in prison. So like, but that first time seeing them in Hawaii, because when you fly to Samoa, you all meet up in Hawaii and then you fly down to Samoa together. And I saw my brothers there and they had brought their wives. I saw on social media they had kids, but like we had no type of connection. All I felt was hate for these dudes because they left me and my mom by ourselves. You know, it was just me, Hope, and my mom. But like my relationship with my mom is, I wish I could have done more. You know, like I was stationed out in Japan, and you know we had opened my mom an account. I was sending money and stuff like that. But I wish I had done more. So that's what I live with, that regret every day. You know, I'm you know, talking with my wife and stuff like that. It just keeps on telling me, you know, you need to forgive yourself and stuff like that. But like my mom never gave up on me. It was just hard, man, because my mom wasn't pretty. So I was really ashamed of my mom, you know, because kids would make fun of my mom, you know, like call her ugly. And then it would make me mad, you know, because my mom would show up to school. But it's like the small stuff like that we're talking about right now is you want to be present. Like I didn't have a father figure, you know, but my mom was my father, and she was there like every event, like schools and stuff like that. But now looking back, man, that was pretty shitty of me, you know, to get super embarrassed seeing my mom there, because you know all kids are like, your mom's ugly, you know. So it's like, oh man, now I'm embarrassed. Our relationship, like on my side, like my mom, she loved me, you know. I sent her like. And I graduated boot camp and everything, super proud. You know, I bought her a car and stuff like that. So, like, rest in peace to my mom. I know she left this world and she was happy, you know. She's like, one of my sons made it, you know, I made it.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I still have a lot of stuff emotionally that I'm still working on, you know. And that's why I feel like it's because of my mom. It's why I'm such a, I don't want to say I'm an awesome dad, but like,
you learn to appreciate more, right?
Yeah, I'm a good dad because of her. Like I owe it all to her, you know. Type of person she was. She had a big heart. She was always helping people out. People took advantage of that. Like, yeah, I know we were talking about like the whole relationship and stuff like that. My wife will always tell me that, you know, I'm too nice. You know, I have an open heart, but it's because I get that from my mom. You know, normally you would size people up and then slowly get to know them. But like if I see people out, bro, I bring them in. I open my doors and stuff like that. It's until they break that trust is when I'll cut them off, which is like reverse of what people normally do. You know, you want to get to know the person first before you trust them 100%. But when I see people, you know, I'm like, I approach them, you know, and I trust them automatically. And it's because of how my mom raised us and stuff like that. So like, and it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because like a lot of times I'll get screwed over, you know? Yeah. And then it hurts more.
You're vulnerable.
Yeah, it hurts more because I trust people 100% for the first time I meet them instead of the other way around. But I just want to say, man, if you still got your mom, make sure you reach out to them, talk to them, do your best. Like people think it's buying them a big house, buying them a brand new car. No, it's just being there. Like a lot of times when we grow up old and we get super busy with life that we forget they just want our company. You know, they just want to hang out. You know, maybe take them out for lunch. You know, take them out the bingo. You know, that's all they need. You know, if you still got your parents, take the time and spend the time with them, man. Because when they're gone, they're gone, and you're just left with regrets. You know, and there's really nothing you can do about it.
Amen to that. Well, for one, yeah, you got me speechless, bro. That's actually really good. I believe that everything you've done up to this point is fair. You had crappy situation to begin with, and you made the best with it, and you grew up with it. And then, we can all armchair quarterback it in hindsight. Hindsight's always the best thing, but you can't really turn back time and go fix it. So overall, I believe that where you're at now, you're a good person. You shouldn't change that. There's nothing wrong with it. And I think it's huge to building a successful relationship. Just that little bit, knowing that you cared enough, or you remembered her memory, or you were there, support financially, spiritually, it didn't matter. You still remembered and you cared. And that was always a big thing. Now we're going to switch it over to Manu. Yeah, I was going to come for you. What about you? What do you think is important to establishing a successful relationship as a son?
Pretty much you guys already said everything, but growing up, it was hard. I was always around my mom. Not really a big favorite of my dad, because my dad was he's a very different person. And I think all my brothers and sisters were close to my mom and not with my dad, because maybe it's because we always get salsa back then, but now as you grow older, you tend to know a lot of things about your parents. But now it's different. It's a whole different story. And like JP was trying to say, you got to spend time with them no matter what. Even though my dad was he did all that salsa, the fiaos and all that stuff back then. But he's my dad. I love him no matter what. So I try to spend as much time with them. And like today, barbecue, I went and dropped off some food. And I told my parents that I love them, So I try to do that every Sunday. Sometimes I do see my dad as an old dad, like from back in the 90s. Like every time I would see him, I'm thinking about that same dad, But my dad now, he's different. He's all about, church stuff. And he even calls me up and say, "Hey, son, if you have time, come with me, man. Let's go to church." Yeah, I'll be there. Little things like that, and that's why it's important. I think the key to this whole thing that we're talking about is all about communication. And if you get a chance, like what JP was saying, if your parents are still alive, call them up. Your brothers and sisters. Me and my brothers and sisters, we're very close. I haven't had any issues with my brothers and sisters. Just the way we were raised different. It feels like every time something pop up back then, all that load is on my back. I always get the salsa. And if I see my brothers or sister, getting salsa, I'm there for them. I got to jump in and try to help them, try to take that load off of them. But now it's a whole different story. I like to be there for my parents. I like to go there. I like to visit them. I like to tell them that I love them. I like to do little things like you guys were saying. Take them out. We could be a buffet or take them shopping, or any type of activity will work. And that's where I'm at now. I try to spend as much time as I can with my parents, and so my brothers and sisters.
Thank you for that. And to cap it all off, I believe that we can all agree that communication, huge factor. A lot of times we hold in stuff we would be better off said than be kept inside. Communication, it's always been a key thing to everything. Oftentimes in relationships, we run into this mind reading aspect where you were expecting this, but got this, you were disappointed, created conflict. Now you guys are arguing. And it applies to your spouse, it applies to your children, it applies to your parents as well. So it was like communication was always big, thoughtfulness, being mindful of the little things, that the little ticks that your kids do, or the stuff that your wife loves, her favorite color, your parents is remembering their anniversary, or knowing what your mom's favorite food was and getting it for her, stuff like that. I think it's been a very enlightening episode, just for our viewers to know that, a lot of us are still human. I grew up in a perfect home, had both parents. I was an outstanding son. I was, I actually turned out to be a bad son. I was number 2 out of 5, all boys. The youngest was a girl. There was a huge disconnect. Well, not disconnect, but there was just an age gap to where me and my older brother took care of the younger siblings while both parents worked. We had a stable home. My parents were both financially stable. and they continued to be more financially stable as time grew. I know I used to complain that I didn't get all the nice stuff back then, but now in hindsight, now that I'm a parent and I look at stuff like this, and I can see, you start off somewhere and then you grow. So the younger siblings get the nicer stuff, but the older siblings get the meaningful time. So it's always a give and take. But I appreciate all the good feedback, and please like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments what we can do better. And if you have a story you want to tell, feel free to let us know. We'll always hear you out. This is Behind the Lava. Check us out next time.